And I spoke with the Federal Indigenous Affairs Minister, Jenny Macklin, earlier this week about the expansion of the trial in the Northern Territory. Jenny Macklin, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
The most recent Northern Territory Education Department figures show minimal improvements in the schools where you're currently running this trial. Why are you extending this?
We have certainly seen some improvements. It does vary, and one of the reasons that we're making changes is to really learn from that experience. So, for example, we want to make sure in the new model that we work very closely between Centrelink and the schools to bring parents into the school very early on to make sure that any problems that exist that are preventing children coming to school are addressed. So it might be bullying at school, it might be the child doesn't have a clean uniform to wear every day. There might be issues about parents not taking responsibility where either the school or the Centrelink social worker can really work through what needs to be done to get that child to school every single day.
But it's an expensive, a very costly program to be running if there isn't the clear evidence that it's actually working on the ground. And in some cases, according to these recent attendance statistics on the Northern Territory Education Department website, some schools have seen a drop in attendance by 20%.
Well, I think the biggest cost we're facing is the loss of generations of children who aren't getting a decent education. So we do have to try different things. What we know is that we've provided the extra money for better buildings, we've provided the extra money for better equipment, we've provided the extra money for additional teachers, but on average we've still got children not going to school 2 days a week. No child can learn in that environment. So we're putting extra money into what we're calling case conferencing, teachers and parents, Centrelink staff sitting down, working through the issues together, addressing whatever is the problem to get children to school every day. We're also saying if after all of that we've got parents refusing to engage with the school or refusing to do the right thing by their children, we will suspend their welfare payments.
But Minister, it has been running for 3 years. Isn't that a long enough time to see some benefits so far?
Well, I think we have seen some benefits in some places. We've certainly seen individuals responding to calls for parents to come into the school to explain why it is that their children aren't coming every day. We've had more than 300 parents have their welfare payments suspended. The message is starting to get through. I think it's a new approach, but what we know is we need to use every power at our disposal to make sure we work with parents, work with schools to get these kids to school. We can't have children not coming to school on average 2 days a week. It wouldn't be acceptable for your children or for my children.
How effective can this be when some schools that are currently involved in the trial say that they don't believe there is a proper follow-through on the threat to suspend welfare payments or fining parents?
Well, obviously there has been, because we've had more than 300 parents have had their payments suspended. But one of the things we've learnt from the trial is that we need to do a lot more together early on by getting the parents in, working through the issues with the school to make sure that whatever the problem might be about getting that child to school, if we can address it early, of course we want to do that.
Some schools have complained of the administrative burden it places on already struggling schools. How are you going to alleviate this?
Well, I think that's another reason why it's important for us to be making the changes we are to more effectively work in with the Northern Territory Government's approach. That wasn't done in the first instance. This time we'll work much more closely with the Northern Territory Education Department, with their systems, with their approach to every child every day, work very closely with the individual schools and make sure that we provide the additional resources that are needed, both ourselves and the Northern Territory Government, to really deliver the improvements we expect.
Isn't this the opposite of what people on the ground say works in these communities? I mean, it's a very top-down approach rather than a community-driven one.
I don't agree with that at all. I had parent after parent, grandparent after grandparent say to me, you, the minister, give money to these parents and they're supposed to look after their children. If they're not looking after their children, if, as one older woman said to me, if they're sitting under the tree gambling rather than making sure their children go to school, you shouldn't give them that money. Parents know that they've got a responsibility to do the right thing by their children. We want to work with them to make sure that happens. We'll do a lot of the work in a very collaborative way with the school, with parents, but in the end, we are saying to parents, you've got a responsibility to do the right thing by your kids, and if you don't, we will suspend your welfare payments until you get it right.
Jenny Macklin, thanks so much for talking with us.
Thank you.